Nuked Radio. This is episode 20. Today is Friday, April the 6th. With me today is Jules and Kurt from Irritate the State. He has a show on Orion as well on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 12 p.m. and Saturdays 1 to 3 p.m. And also Steven Moyer will be talking to us about some profound esoteric thoughts that he's had recently about Fukushima.
Yes.
Now, this is the last show of our 1-month crash course in all things nuclear, and I'm very happy that we will be continuing to do this show starting next week. We'll be on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 1. And I also really need to thank the other rad chicks on my Facebook page. There are 7 of us altogether that post all day long, and without them I couldn't possibly keep up to date with those news items and do other things. So thank you so much. A couple of news stories, though. Potterblog put out an alert. Overheated spent fuel rod storage at earthquake-damaged North Anna Nuclear. And I dropped a link into chat for you to watch this video. There's some good pictures of the dry cask storage at this facility. And when we had the Virginia earthquake back in August, some of the casks actually moved. And when they were checking the casks out, they found out that one of them, they had inserted the fuel rods the wrong way, and it's overheating. And now this is a big problem because they need to remove these rods and reinsert them so that they'll cool down properly. But if anything is damaged during that process, it is going to be a very, very, very expensive fix. And if you don't know what Price Anderson is, it's a type of insurance that the government gives nuke plants so that they are off the hook for any costs when they have big, huge, expensive problems. It's actually the taxpayers that get to pay for that. So we'll have to keep an eye on that situation. Also, Any News ran a story today that kind of ties in with the interview that we had with Lauren the other day. Beware spring maximum for radioactive fallout. If you remember, she was saying how she went back and looked historically at when disease processes popped up at what time of year, and it always coincides with rainy season. And that's kind of what this article is saying. The spring maximum in radioactive fallout has been observed by many researchers. At Tateno, Japan, for example, they have a peak in March every year since 1962 to 1966 of strontium-90 fallout at Tokyo. The peak is observed in the months from March to June. The maximum appeared in April and May in New York. Radioactive dusts are finally suspended in the form of aerosol, so small that gravitational settling can be ignored. Most of the dust particles are transported to the troposphere along with the air motion. It is to be noted that at many places both total ozone and radioactive fallout have maxima in the springtime and minima in fall. So it's a very interesting correlation and something we need to be aware of too. Other headlines on Any News today: former Japan ambassador warns government committee a global catastrophe like we have never seen or experienced if number 4 collapses. The common spent fuel pool with 6,375 fuel rods is in jeopardy and would affect us all for centuries. NOAA scientists: plumes from Asia contribute up to 20% of surface ozone pollution on U.S. West Coast, closely related to radioactive fallout. Maximum was at Los Angeles Basin in the southwest. And there was a ghost ship that had come from the tsunami from Japan, and the U.S. Blew it up yesterday with cannons. It sunk after multiple attempts. Huge column of smoke seen over Gulf was to be salvaged, but inspection showed the ship was not worth saving, so they sunk it. CNN is reporting, it sounds unbelievable, but it's true, Japan is paying for travelers to visit Fukushima. $63 to share photos on Facebook, and $63 to answer 5 questions about their trip.
That's insane.
TEPCO gets government warning about radioactive leak from Fukushima Daiichi. At this time, we have reserved the right to not provide an English version due to potential misunderstandings. And Osaka Mayor says Japan will collapse if reactors are restarted hastily. New safety standards for restarts written in just 2 days. And, you know, the people are getting up in arms about this restart situation. And we had posted a public meeting recently where it was very heated, and as it should be. And the people that were on the board would not even respond to the people in the audience who were yelling at them why they wouldn't answer questions.
You understand what's going on, right? They're trying to make money, and it's the money that's taken the priority over the morality of what's right.
Well, from some other interviews that I heard recently, one of them that you sent me, Japan is finished economically.
Yeah.
It's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to clean up Fukushima.
And they're never going to be able to clean it up. That's the truth. It is done.
And they're running into another problem there now, too. And I had a few people email me in the last couple days that found out and were quite upset by the fact that TEPCO is sending the workers home on the weekends. But the reason that they're doing that is because they only have a limited number of nuclear engineers and experts that are working at the site, and they are all reaching their maximum lifetime dose.
Mm-hmm.
So when they can't work there anymore, they're going to have to start bringing in people from probably other countries, and I guess they're doing that now. They're actually trying to recruit students from other universities, and they're not telling them that they're going to be working at Fukushima.
Deception.
But they're offering them big incentives to move to Japan. So, you know, they're going to need to keep this place stocked with experts for the next 100 years.
And it's not right to do that to people, to tell them they're going to go get a job in Japan and then put them in a nuclear zone.
Mm-hmm.
They should tell them before they leave to go to Japan that they're going into a dangerous area.
Japan has the same problems that we have here in the States. Their pension funds are gone.
Yeah. The real estate market is shot.
Yeah, they had all the same mortgage problems that we had, and now nobody can sell their houses. And in fact, they were just starting to, it was becoming more common for people to buy like two houses, like have their regular residence when they work during the week, and then have another residence that's maybe out more in the country. And they can't sell any of their houses. The economy is completely tanking. Then they have, hundreds of billions of dollars that they're going to need to bail out TEPCO, because TEPCO doesn't have any money either.
Well, the Japanese government doesn't have any money either. They've been broke for a long time.
Right, and their exports are going to be dwindling significantly. And now, I found out the other day, too, Stephen, I don't know if you heard this, but the salmon, the radioactive canned salmon that they have, they're going to start shipping to, like, Cambodia and Vietnam.
Malaysia, yeah. Thailand.
So, TEPCO doesn't really know what to do anymore besides just pour water on the reactors. And looking at that place, seeing the escalation of the problems there, do you really think that that place is going to hang on for 30 years or even 30 more weeks?
Well, it's really hard to say, isn't it? It's hung on this long, and that's surprising to some of us. We thought it would go earlier.
We will be back in just a moment with more on Nuked Radio. We are back with Nuked Radio. Jules pulled some stats for us yesterday, and so we have some good news to share. We wanted to let everyone know, too, who has been here listening to the show, that we are waking people up, and we are spreading the word about Fukushima. Just in the last week, we reached 15,888 people on the Rad Chick page on Facebook. And since we started doing Fukushima Facts, we've reached 8,632. And overall, since I started the Facebook page, it was probably the end of last summer, we've reached about 500,000 people, and that's from you guys sharing links, sharing news, sharing videos, and it's very significant. But we need to keep doing it. The forecasts, put them up on your local news station, the alerts on nuke plants. Call your local news affiliates and get them to cover these stories. Talk to your kids' teachers, talk to your neighbors, and ask every time that you go into the grocery store, are you checking for radiation? Ask the produce managers and the fish counter and the dairy supervisor. And we decided to keep doing the show because a lot of people have asked us to, and so we can keep updating the situation. And I want to keep doing the forecast as well, and I'm going to start writing some articles too. So we're reaching out in different ways. And Steven, you started a new search engine.
Yeah, let me tell about that a little bit. It's a custom search engine I made on Google, and it has about a dozen different domains in it, including energy news and ask about Fukushima, and there's a bunch in here. It's at nodes.org/Fukushima, or if you like, fukushima.nodes.org. Either one will get you there. NODES.org. So you go there and you can type in anything you want. You could type in, well, let's see, what's a good search word? Plutonium? And you'll find lots of different things. Informable is in there. So this searches the XSSKF site. That one is a good one. And Rents.com. Jeff Rents does a lot of Fukushima news. Did you hear Yoichi Shimatsu from Monday night?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah, it is. And he's Japanese, too, I believe. So he has a connection to that culture. And he's basically telling you how the nation is dying. It's falling apart. And that's another thing that came out of the, if you their real estate market is shot, of course, right? But what's happening, according to Yoichi, is that they would rather have their children die than see the stock market go down. That's how demented they've become. And I think it's about philosophy. I think Kevin Blanch said it in his latest one. This is mega philosophical, what's happening at Fukushima. And we need to look at it in terms of what are the messages that are coming out of this at a larger level than just today's latest radiation report and where is the radiation going. No, what is the message here? It's about nuclear power is destroying our world, and we are destroying our world with our philosophy. And the philosophy is about control. Gaining more power gives you more control, right? And that's what nuclear power is about. Let me have another switch. I want to push a switch and get a reality. I want my reality to change. I push a switch. I have air conditioning. I have lighting. I have everything I need at the push of a switch. And that's what nuclear power is about, to give you push-button reality, total control over everything in your world. And that's what's falling down philosophically, is this idea of control, because they are totally out of control at Fukushima.
I saw in one of the videos that I was watching to do Loren's interview that part of the reason, too, is to weaken the population, sell more pharmaceuticals, boost the healthcare industry, and get more control, because people that are sick are easier to control. That's
true. I don't know if that's part of the plan here, because I still believe this was a divine intervention accident. I don't think it was a conspiracy of Israel or United States or anybody. I know she does, but I don't agree with that. I think this was just something that happened. And she could be right. Maybe they did set off nuclear weapons down in the middle of the ocean somewhere to generate the earthquake and tsunami. But I think this could have happened totally naturally without any human designs to make it happen. I don't have to go there to see that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the other thing she said, the last statement that she made on the interview, was that there's an opportunity here for something really amazing to happen.
Yes.
And that's people helping each other. And I need you guys listening to think about this too. And if you like to write, or you are comfortable enough in talking about this, get active in your community. Think about speaking out at a city council meeting or a school board meeting, especially the school board meetings. And feel free to share any of your posts or what you're doing on the Facebook page to let other people know and inspire them. Start making videos on YouTube. And if you're creative, start making T-shirts on Cafe Press and send us the link and we'll post it somewhere. I went and I got decals. They're actually for a boat the other day at a craft store, and I wrote across the back window of my car, Fukushima USA Decontamination Team and big letters. And I see people when I'm stopped at a light pointing at my window and talking to people in the car about it. And just little things like that. 10 people a day might see that as we're driving down the road and get them thinking about it. And if you guys have ideas too, share it with us and we'll talk about it on air. The mass awakening to this is coming, but we need to do everything that we can to help it along and make it happen faster, because the lives of our children are at risk.
I wanted to slip something in here about globalization. We think about globalization in terms of trade and money and corporations, but we need to think about globalization in terms of humanity and the earth. The people in Japan are our family, and we need to take care of them. We need to have that kind of an attitude. We need to care about them. They're in a hurting way right now.
But it's easier for us to see that possibility, but for people who don't even know that Fukushima is going on, that's a big step for them to take mentally, I mean, first
it's not just the people in Japan. What I'm saying is everyone in the world. We need to care about everybody. This is the message of Fukushima. There is no isolation based on nation states. The radiation doesn't stay in Japan. It's going all over the world, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody in the world is affected by it, and we all need to care about what goes on in Japan or anywhere else. And the idea of globalization has been, well, we're going to make money, and that's what globalization is about. But that's the wrong use of the word. The right use of the word is we live on one earth, and we share one destiny. We need to all care about each other and form one system for managing our world. And right now it's being run by money, and money's a horrible way to run a world.
When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Japan. You're listening to Nuked Radio.
I got your picture of me and you. You wrote I love you. I love me too. I see and stare at it, there's nothing else to do. Oh, it's in color. Your hair is brown.
And we are back with Steven Moyer from Radiation Health Solutions on Facebook. And Steven, can you tell us the search engine again, how to find it?
Well, the search engine is at fukushima.nodes.org, or that's just a meta link that takes you to nodes.org/Fukushima.
All right, and also we have FukushimaFacts.com, where we have links to the earthquake monitors, volcano cameras, radiation levels, the sun, satellites, and moon schedule, and just everything you could possibly want for Earth changes and radiation. We have on that site, and mitigation as well. And Steven I want him to continue with his thoughts on Japan.
Yes, I want to wax philosophic a little bit here and get us to expand our mind and think about this in a different way. I think about Fukushima as sending us messages about how we need to change the way we live. All of us, not just the United States, not just Japan, but all of humanity. We've been going on the idea that we can develop technology and control our world. But look at what's happened at Fukushima with all of this control technology. It's totally out of control. and nobody really knows what to do about it. So we got to back off of this idea of controlling nature and get into the idea of harmonizing with nature, of working with nature. This is a paradigm shift. You've heard a lot about paradigm shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's from the paradigm of control to the paradigm of cooperation, that we need to cooperate with nature rather than try and control it and dominate it. And this also goes into the realm of economics, because our economic system is about control, right? It's about whoever has the money controls what happens and makes the decisions. Well, that doesn't work either. We're seeing that from Fukushima. They're making decisions to let children die so that they can keep the stock price up. That's a really bad decision. They're not thinking of the future, and we need to think about the future of humanity. What's it going to be like on planet Earth in 100 years? What kind of future do you want to create? And we need to put our energy and our money and all of our resources to create the kind of future that we want. You can see this is going to be a different kind of politics than what we have right now, right? Imagine if we had a 100-year energy plan, for example. What would that be? It wouldn't be nuclear. We'll run out of nuclear within 100 years, so we're going to have to get off of nuclear. As soon as you go to a 100-year time span, you get to the conclusion, well, nuclear isn't going to work for 100 years, so we've got to do something else. Well, why?
I think they're planning on just reprocessing all the used fuel, reprocessing it and making it even more unstable every time it goes through.
They're destroying matter every time they use nuclear power. It destroys the structure of matter. You can kind of think about it as the materials like uranium or plutonium in the number 3 reactor, but uranium usually is what's used in the reactor, and it fissions and it creates about 200 different radioisotopes, right? Like cesium-134, cesium-137, strontium-90, so forth, so on. There are only, 90-some elements in the periodic table. So they're actually making things that don't exist in nature. Right. Radioactive isotopes are elements that have an unstable characteristic. They're going to shed radioactivity, alpha or beta particles, and gamma. The matter is suffering. It's going, ow! You hurt me. And it's releasing portions of itself. The atoms are releasing portions of themselves so that they can reach homeostasis again, to get back into stability, into a stable state, right? That's what's going on with the radiation release. We have destroyed the stability of nature. That's a terrible thing to do. We're not creating a better form of nature. We're not improving nature. We're destroying nature with nuclear energy. And philosophically, that's evil, basically. Evil is anything that is unnecessary destruction. So we really ought to go in a better direction. We have to have an energy plan that takes us out of destroying things and into creating things. That's why I like solar and wind. They make so much sense. But we can probably go into other technologies that are constructive or less destructive than nuclear. Nuclear is the most destructive energy we have. It's not good at all. And we haven't really comprehended the task of how we're going to clean up. You know, decommissioning. They talk about decommissioning. Well, what does that mean? What are you going to do? You're going to move the stuff from one location to another? The radioactive waste, where do you do with it? We haven't come up with a solution. So that tells us that we haven't, philosophically, what we haven't done is we haven't figured out how to deal with the consequences of our actions. We're just going ahead and saying, well, somebody in the future will figure that out. We're not thinking in terms of what kind of future do we want. We don't want to be shifting the responsibility for dealing with radioactive waste to our great-great-grandchildren and say, you guys deal with it. That's not moral. It's not right. It's not virtuous. Responsibility is a virtue, and we need to take responsibility for what's going on now. Fukushima, the question in my mind about Fukushima is, who is responsible? I am. Are you responsible too? I think you are, because you're doing this show, right?
Right.
And that's something. You're doing something about it. And I'm doing the Radiation Health Solutions. And I write and I notify people. You know, one thing you can do to be responsible is you can send email. And there really is no limit to how much email you can send when you think about it. And everybody has an email address on the internet. And you have a lot of email addresses, and so do I. I think, depending on Facebook is a mistake. I encourage people to use email. I know a lot of people don't. They just they tweet on their phone or they go to Facebook. But Facebook is a corporation, and they have done some evil things, too, in terms of turning people off. Do you remember that BP group they had during the BP crisis that was Boycott BP? Were you
on
part
Facebook?
of that? Yeah.
No,
I don't remember. It was a huge group. It had like 750,000 people, and it was growing very rapidly. And Facebook just cut it off. Boom, gone. and we went nuts. We were like, what happened to that group? That group was really awesome. And everything in the group was gone. Everything, total, just wiped. And so there was an uproar, and Facebook put it back. The same day, maybe like 14 hours later, they put it back. And their excuse, they didn't even make an excuse. They just said, oh, it was an automated program that removed it. It's like, what kind of automated programs do you have that go around removing groups that have 750,000 people in them?
Yeah, no, I posted a couple pictures on Mutation Watch of some DU babies from Fallujah.
Yeah.
And because they were laying in incubators, I got sanctioned on Facebook for a week because they said I was peddling pornography.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I couldn't post or do anything with my account for a week.
Well, I couldn't post for a couple days, I think, once they sanctioned me. Well, they're really trying to control our behavior. You see that? Mm-hmm. It's more control. It's like, well, we really need to get off of Facebook, is the truth. We need to have a social network that isn't based on a corporation selling us stuff. And that's what Facebook is. It's a corporation putting ads up to sell us stuff. And we can have our own social network, which doesn't need any advertising, because the cost of doing what we're doing on Facebook, the actual cost, is very low. I think people, if they were willing to put up 10 cents a day, they could have an awesome social network. You understand what I'm saying? It's not so much like, oh, we have to have lots of money. No, you don't, really. They sell websites now. You can buy your own website for $3 or $4 a month and have it hosted and have gigabytes of data online. So it's not a big expense. Anyhow, I got sidetracked there. I was talking about Fukushima and taking responsibility, because responsibility is a virtue. And I think that's something we can all ask ourselves, is how can we take responsibility for it? One of the things that I would like to see is I would like to see all of our candidates for Congress and the president here in the United States have a 100-year energy plan. Come on, people. As soon as you go to a 100-year window, you're not going to be doing that reprocessing thing. People are going to laugh you out of here. They're going to be like, what? We have all these other technologies and you're going with nuclear? Why? It's dangerous. And the other thing about nuclear is it centralizes control. You need to have a strong central government if you're going to have nuclear power. Look at who's bailing out TEPCO, right? TEPCO is an extension of the Japanese government.
And we are back with Nuked Radio. Steven sent me a movie last night, and I wanted to share a clip from the early part of it just to get everybody thinking in terms of the global consciousness. So Kurt's going to play it for us.
The Earth is believed to have formed 4.6 billion years ago. Within the first 150 million years, it began cooling and releasing gases from the lithosphere, which created the earliest forms of the Earth's atmosphere. Prior to the creation of this atmosphere, the sun's ultraviolet radiation made for uninhabitable conditions. But as the Earth cooled further, water condensed in the atmosphere and oxygen accumulated, making way for organic compounds. This spawned single-celled organisms and then plant life. And down through time, the evolutionary chain continued. And then we arrived arrive at a species that does not seem to fit as well as the rest. Homo sapiens' gestation period of 9 months mimics the 3.8 billion year evolution of all life on Earth. The human embryo repeats the evolution of all species. When the sperm and egg unite, this new creation is a single-celled organism. Within hours, this single cell divides and multiplies more rapidly than any other species. 4 weeks later, the embryo begins to develop gills mimicking aquatic life. A few weeks later, it develops lungs and a tail with reptilian appearance. From there, a mammal is recognizable, and then onto a primate form. It then sheds its laguna, which is the embryonic fur, and at last shows the characteristics of a human child. The human body is a community of approximately 50 trillion cells. Everything the body does, the cell does as well. Cells have respiratory and excretory systems. They feed, feel, think, and communicate with other cells. Trillions of cells make up a single organism called the human body, and billions of human bodies help make up the organism we call Earth. The Earth has more similarities with the human anatomy than you may think. Earth has its own electromagnetic generation, just like the human body. Research has found that a direct current of electricity flows through perineural cells found around every nerve in the body. These pathways are called energy meridians and have been used in the practice of acupuncture for at least 2,000 years. Dating even farther back is the notion of dragon paths or ley lines in which many megalithic structures and stone monuments were erected, marking the energy meridians of the Earth. These energy meridians are generated by the resonant frequencies of the Earth, called the Schumann waves. Each planetary body has its own resonant frequencies and is determined by the circumference and diameter, as well as the speed of orbit and rotation. The Earth's resonant frequency starts at 7.83 hertz and ends with the 7th harmonic at 43.2 hertz, correlating with the 7 chakras. Ultimately, the greatest discovery of our Earth is its consciousness. A visible attribute of consciousness is an energetic field that governs the shaping of organisms. Morphogenesis is a scientific term to explain this very shaping of tissues, organs, and entire organisms. Consciousness is the creative force of the entire universe. It has been given many names such as God, Yahweh, Krishna, nature, the field, and divinity. The entire universe is in fact a single living, conscious organism with complete awareness of itself. The reason why it may seem difficult to comprehend this is because our understanding is typically limited by our language. When we hear the term conscious organism, we tend to anthropomorphize its definition. By giving it human qualities, we mistakenly look past what an organism truly is in the first place. The definition of an organism is any living thing capable of response to stimuli, reproduction, growth and development, and maintenance of homeostasis as a stable whole. Our universe does all of these things. The consciousness of our universe is responsible for the form and purpose that all matter assumes. The Earth's resonant frequencies are a result of its form. These frequencies are responsible for biological rhythms, such as menstrual and circadian cycles, as well as behavioral and emotional patterns. The frequencies are then picked up by the flora and fauna, which are biological instruments that respond to the wave patterns. The wave patterns resonate in the cranial structure of our head and converge in the center of our brain, which is where we find the pineal gland. The pineal gland is believed in many cultures to be the spiritual third eye responsible for intuition. Descartes called it the seat of the soul where mind and body meet. Each individual cell in our body receives an electromagnetic impulse from our central nervous system. They receive the very same impulse that was disseminated to every biological instrument from the Earth. An explanation of our conscious universe has been attempted by religion, science, and philosophy. The neglect of biological nature from any organism causes illness. A divorce from nature, exile from Eden, confounding of tongues. They are all symptoms, not of a biblical God or deity, but the true self. The greatest and only threat to ourselves is a loss of self, the death of our divinity. As we barrel through history with oceans of information, yet barely a drop of wisdom, we have to understand how we lost ourself.
That's really good.
I have a saying that gets me through just about anything, and it's that you are in charge of your own experience. No matter what happens, no matter how bad something is, you choose how you react to it.
Well, yeah, that's what responsibility is, right? Your ability to respond.
And I think that we have a lot more power and control in those terms, even though a lot of other things seem to be outside of our control. Jules and I were talking about yesterday, there's been actual studies that have been done in terms of the global consciousness, where they've gone into areas having civil war and had groups of people meditating to cause a ceasefire, and it actually worked, and it's been documented in Lebanon.
In Washington, D.C., they did an experiment where they reduced the crime by meditation.
And it's there's an opportunity here for us to help each other and help our fellow humans to get through everything that we're going through. And yesterday we realized that some of the shows that we have done, especially this week, might have been a little bit upsetting to people. And Jules and I wanted to address this and remind everyone that this stuff is scary. And it's normal if it makes you feel that way, but if you almost have to go through that to get to the next phase, which is, how am I going to react to this? And, you know, for right now, just mitigation and preparation in case something else goes wrong at Fukushima. And if something happened, we would be all over the story and consulting experts and getting the word out. But for right now, you just mitigate and keep in mind that you are in charge of your experience.
Well, you can do also very simple things like learn how to avoid radioactivity in the environment. You know, stay out of the rain, for example. And you can learn how to improve your body's ability to deal with it.
We all have the cancer cells in our body at all times. It's our immune system that keeps everything in check. And so the healthier you are and the more conscious you are of your own health, the better off that you'll be. And we have to just remind ourselves it's a long-term situation that we'll be dealing with this for the rest of our lives.
That's right. We're going to be dealing with it for the rest of our lives. And one of the things I realized from the Radiation Health Solutions Group is that the solutions people are giving are not just good for dealing with radioactivity. They're good for life, generally. So go to rhs.nodes.org. That's where it's at on Facebook. Radiation Health Solutions, rhs.nodes.org.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
Well, I'm going to keep doing it because it works, and it helps me, too. I learn a lot from the group. There's some really smart people in there. Susie Sky is really smart. Do you notice her?
No, there's a couple other pages. I love Radiation Watch, and in fact, Samuel from Brazil is on our chat room right now. We have people from all over that have been posting on there. The numbers are really going up. On all of our pages recently.
Then I redid the Japan Crisis module yesterday or today. JapanCrisis.nodes.org. Try it out.
Well, guys, it's been a great month, and we will be back next week on Tuesday at noon with a very special guest. So everyone stay safe, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Steven. Thanks, Jules and Kurt.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Christina. Bye-bye.